Hello crafters, this is Flavia and I hope all is well. Since Valentine's Day is right around the corner, I thought I would share a few more Valentine's Day note cards that I created. As I mentioned in last week's video, this year I decided not to purchase any Valentine's Day products because I already have some really awesome stamps and die sets that I haven't used yet or haven't used them enough. So today's die set is one of them, and if you missed last week's video, I will add a link in the description box below so you can check it out later. Today's note cards will be featuring this very cute Dancing Hearts die set by Spellbinders. This is a note set and unfortunately it's not available anymore at Spellbinders website. However, if I can find it available at other websites, I will make sure to list them in the description box down below as well. And remember, you can always visit my blog for a visual supply list. This set comes with many options to choose from for the shoes, eyes, and hands. There is also this metal plate that we can use to create the mechanism that will allow the legs to move from side to side, which is a fun surprise for the recipient. This set also comes with metal plates to cut out flowers and a handheld sign. What I love about this die set is that we can add other die cuts using different die sets that we might already have to cut out different objects for these characters to hold, such as presents or balloons, to create note cards for other occasions as well. I will begin by adding some interest to these white panels by running them through my Gemini Junior die cut machine using these two metal plates. This one on the right is the Stitched Hearts plate by Concord and this one on the left is the Detail Bohemian by Simon Says Stamp. These plates will add just enough interest to the cardstock by creating really beautiful piercing or stitching patterns. There are some stitching or piercing plates that will cut out around the cardstock, like this one by Simon Says Stamp. Notice that this plate has a sharp rectangular outline. This is great because it will perfectly cut out the cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, so we can use it to create A2 size note cards. And there are also plates like this Stitched Hearts by Concord and that don't have a sharp edge. This means that this plate will not cut out the cardstock at all, which is also great because we can use it to create an even bigger panel, even though this plate also measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. In that case, all we have to do is place it on top of 1/2 of the cardstock, run it through the die cut machine to cover 1/2, then run it a second time to cover the other half, making sure that the plate is aligned with the stitching pattern that we just created on the other side. That is something to consider when shopping for plates like this, so I thought I would mention it to you. Today's note cards are A2 size. I will glue one of those pierced panels to the front of this pink card base, and I will also add a plain white panel inside where I can write a message. Since I want to add a couple of heart characters to the front panel, this one will have a landscape orientation in order to fit both characters. Before I start assembling the pieces, let me show you everything that we are able to cut out with this die set. Notice that for the heart's face, the plate also leaves impressions on the cardstock. And there is one metal plate that cuts all of the legs and arms at once, which can be a time saver. As you can see here, we get 2 pairs for the shoes, mittens, and eyes to choose from. We also have this long piece that is supposed to be used to make the handheld sign as well as a flower stem, but for the flower stem, I will use this long metal plate from another Spellbinder set. I will start by adhering the smaller heart, which is the face, on top of the big one. Then I will glue the arms to the body. Before you adhere the arms to the body, you need to think about whether or not this character is going to be holding something, so you can adhere the arms accordingly. I will adhere everything to this big heart piece except for the legs that we have to glue to this mechanism. Since the arms and legs are such delicate die cuts, I stacked 2 pieces of each to make them stronger. Also, I think it is a great idea to stack the die cut legs because I feel that the heavier the legs die cuts, the easier it will move from side to side. You can always change your mind later and reposition position the arms, but I do think that it is better to assemble these pieces before adhering these characters to the card base. For this red heart, I will use the bow die cut as a bow tie, and for the next one, I will use it as a headpiece. I will also create a sign for this one to hold with the left hand. However, his right hand is going to be holding this other character's hand. So I will place these two characters side by side so I can get a better feel for where I should adhere this pink heart left arm. I'm using a wax pencil to pick up these tiny pieces, and it is such a handy tool to have. If you like assembling die cuts or adding embellishments to your projects, this is definitely a must-have tool since it makes the process easier. I'm also using the Barely Art glue, which is a strong glue that dries clear, which is great because I don't have to worry too much about having any glue oozing out. And since I die cut all of these pieces before I started assembling my note cards, it took me no time at all to put them together. Once we have our characters ready, we can go ahead and adhere them to the front of our note cards by using foam adhesive. I will place all of the pieces over my front panel to get a feel for where I want them to go, and once I know it, I will add a piece of round foam adhesive right in the center of this mechanism. I will also add foam adhesive squares to the back of these large heart pieces. As you do this, remember that in order for the legs to freely move from side to side, we can only add foam to the top portion of these die cut hearts, just like I did here. Anything lower than this will interfere with the mechanism. So as we adhere this big heart piece to the front panel, we have to make sure that the foam squares behind it will not be over the legs and the mechanism that the legs are attached to. As a final touch, I went over their shoes and mittens with Ranger Glossy accents to make them glossy. Notice that I have a piece of scrap paper under their legs as I'm applying Ranger Glossy accents. This is so I can protect my white background and not get any glossy accents where I do not want to. Once I'm done, I can set this aside to dry and move on to the second Valentine's Day note card. This one will only have one character, so it will have a portrait orientation. I stacked 4 Be Mine die cut sentiments to make it stand out, but you can definitely skip this step if you don't want to have the extra work. Just like I did with the previous note card, I will also stack the arms and legs to make them strong. Then I will adhere the shoes to the legs and the legs to the mechanism, but all of the other parts I am going to adhere to the big heart shape. Once that's done, I will again place the mechanism with the legs attached on my note card, then place a round foam tape inside this circle and adhere this heart die cut on top. Remember again to only add a few foam tape to the top portion of this die cut heart so it doesn't interfere with the mechanism and the legs can freely move. The reason why we need to adhere the arms to the heart die cut is so they don't get in the way of the legs moving from side to side. So aside from the foam adhesive in the back of these die cuts and the legs, there are no other pieces that are touching or glued to the front panel. To add some sparkle to the cheeks, I went over it with my shimmer pen. I also went over the sentiment Be Mine with my shimmer pen as well as Ranger Glossy accents. Here is a closer look at all of the note cards that I created. I just love how they turned out and how easy it was to assemble the pieces. These white panels are just beautiful in person. The piecing or stitching plates added just enough interest without taking too much from the focal point of these note cards, which are the dancing hearts. To make the envelopes match off camera, I foiled the flap of each one by using gold foil and this Happy Valentine's Day plate from another set by Spellbinders. Before we go, let me show you a similar note card that I created. Originally, I was going to use embossing folders instead of stitching or piercing plates to add interest to my background panels. But I noticed that because the embossing folder added too much texture to the cardstock, it ended up interfering with the legs movement. It still has some movement, but it is not as smooth as when we have a background panel without this much texture. Even though it looks beautiful, that is definitely something to keep in mind. So this is all that I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed this video and felt inspired. For pictures and a visual supply list of all products used today, make sure to visit my blog. I appreciate you watching, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel so you do not miss the next one. I hope to see you again soon. Have a wonderful day and happy Valentine's!